What's going on YouTube? It has been quite a while. I just haven't had a whole lot to film. So as you can see, car's still parked, parts are still all over the bench. Yeah, it's been a couple weeks. We're still waiting on engine block to come back. Been waiting on the pistons for a couple weeks now. They're custom troms, so they take a while to get. Transmission did go out to a buddy of mine. Doing a couple little things with the trans. We're going to incorporate something that I think is going to help out a lot. So once trans gets back, we'll have a video on that. But what we're going to get started with today is fuel system. So I sold all my electric fuel system stuff. We're going kind of a hybrid fuel system. So I'm still going to have one electric pump. That electric pump is going to be filling a surge tank. And we went ahead and got mechanical pulley driven fuel pump. So this is Jimmy Williams. He made a kit for the S2000s for a front on the front of the motor pump, and this is his old fuel pump that got rebuilt, so it's got a couple marks on it, but new bracket, completely rebuilt, all new bearings, new seals. We got new regulator, and we got a new fuel filter for the amount of this fuel pump. The main reason I'm going mechanical is I was pushing the dual pumps pretty hard, and I could see that it was really taking a toll on my electrical system. So when you're running dual pumps with a booster pump, running 17 volts to them, the amperage is just skyrocketing, and it's drawing a ton of volts off the system. Not only that, the pumps would get fairly hot because the amount of pressure, the amount of fuel demand that I was trying to get off of a dual electric. I think there were 535s. So it was just best interest to go mechanical. I've been pushing off the mechanical for a while, but talking to some guys and seeing multiple street cars that run mechanical pumps, they run fine. Everything's good. The only thing, it might take a little bit longer to actually ignite, start the car, just because the fuel pressure's not as high. But we're going to adjust some stuff in the tune to help that. So today what I'm going to be doing is wiring up. I got a brand new intake canister. So if you guys don't know, the Accords have the exact same intake canister. So I got a brand new one of those. And then I got a 450 pump that we're going to stick in there. And what that's going to do is that's going to take fuel from the in cell. I'm still going to have the in tank cell, so it's going to take fuel from that, and all it's going to do is pump it into the surge tank so that the mechanical can feed off the surge tank. So it's still going to be factory fuel cell, fill it up factory way and everything. And it's just going to have a surge tank in the trunk. So I'm excited to try it out. Of course, we need a motor and a transmission, but we'll be getting that. So let's go ahead, and I got to do some wiring on the fuel pump and then get it in the car, and I'll show you guys how my switch and my fuel pump and filler and how that's all gonna work, and I'll show you guys how it's all gonna work. All right, so here we have a factory in-tank fuel pump system, factory wiring, factory feed and return, just a 450 pump, and this is obviously gonna be under it's gonna be under no pressure. So we don't have to do pump relay and stuff because it's not going to draw any amperage whatsoever. These pumps with no pressure on them, they don't take anything to move. So she should be good to go to drop in the tank, and we'll have our filler pump. So we got the trans back finally. I had a buddy locally, Tommy. He ended up getting her back together. Very minimal wear. We had a bushing that needed replaced, but everything else looked really good, he said. And then went ahead and added this guy. So this is a internal dump. And what the internal dump's gonna do is it takes pressure from the valve body that's normally gonna go to the converter, but it dumps it out of here. And once the solenoid opens, it throws it out back into the pan. So what a dump valve does is basically it's going to make the converter really, really loose, and I can spool quicker. I can also leave out of the hole with the dump valve open, which means I won't have as much power being applied to my rear wheels. So I can leave with more boost, more RPM, but it won't be so violent on the tire. So it's just gonna be a tuning tool, and I'm gonna have to play with it. But one cool thing about it with the turbo car is that I shouldn't need nitrous whatsoever, and it should come up pretty quick once it's open. So I'm going to have it on one of my output switches on the ECU to tell it when to close and when to shut. So just one more thing to play with, and one more thing to hopefully make the car 60 foot a little harder. It's also going to help me out on really, really crappy surfaces, or like bare road surfaces where there's just not a whole lot of grip. I'll still be able to have the car high RPM and boost, but the transmission, the converter will be slipping a lot more to get down a crappier surface. So that's the advantage to having, you know, a dump valve. All right, here is a part of the new fuel system that I'm doing. Went away from the dual intakes, and this guy is going to be my little surge tank. It does have a filler, but I'm using it as a surge tank. I got this really cheap off Jegs. I had to do some modifications though. So we got these are going to be overfill, return, and feed. So what I'm going to do is I'm using the factory fuel cell, and there's going to be a filler pump that you guys saw in my little canister. It's going to fill this up, and then this is going to be my sump, and this is where I'm going to be pulling fuel from. So dash 12, and then I have another dash 10 here, which I'm probably going to turn into some kind of drain most likely. But for now, I'm just gonna cap it off. All right, so here's where my surge tank will sit. These will be my feed and return and vent lines. And then I have factory fuel pump in there. So I'm gonna be making lines coming from here to here, and this will feed my surge. And then I'll have a vent out and a return back from my fuel pressure regulator. And then my feed will be down here. So I'm gonna cut a hole in the bottom here for my line to come out. I'm eventually gonna mock up a drain so I could drain this if I want to. And then what's really nice is that I can run any kind of fuel in my factory fuel cell, pump gas, you know, E85, whatever I want to run there. And when I flip a switch into my street mode, it's gonna pump fuel into this, and then it'll feed whatever's in my tank. If I don't want to use this fuel and say I just want to fill this up with some fuel, I can turn that pump off and just fill this up manually and feed that. And my return will come back with the same fuel that I'm running. So return back to the surge, not doing return back to the fuel cell, because then I'll be mixing the fuels. So doing it this way, I will save a lot of money on fuel, because when I street drive, a lot of times I'll end up street driving with my canned E85, where this, I can fill this up and save a lot of money, not wasting good fuel on the street. So I can go street mode, race mode, and I can still put race fuel in my factory fuel tank if the race states that, you know, you have to come back and use fuel on the cruise or whatever. So I can go either way. So it's a very versatile fuel system, and I definitely won't run out of fuel. And it's actually going to give me more fuel capacity. So I'm going from 12.5 gallon factory cell to now I'm going to have almost 15 gallons of fuel. So I'll be able to go longer on the street. So I'm just giving myself more miles on the street. All right, so I'm drilling the mount holes. I got my 12 feed down here. On the size of that hose, it's huge. But yeah, so this will come down and I'll feed it down underneath the car, and this will be our actual delivery feed hose to the pump. So I'm just gonna go ahead and mount it. I'm putting these little rubber feet on the bottom just to give it a little bit of, I don't know, vibration, a little bit of cushion, so it's not, because the bottom of my trunk is kind of like concaved and these are flat, so it gives it just better mount with those feet down there. So, but Go ahead and mount her up. All right, we got our line ran. Comes out there, runs all the way down the car. And that's about all we can do until I get the motor and able to get the pump all set up. All right, so I got my feed and my overfill return. So got them all done up. Got some nice, it's all AN fittings back here, as you can see, with quick disconnects. So this is gonna be my main filler. So it's gonna fill up my surge. And then once the surge gets too full, it'll drain back to my overfill drain back return hose there. This guy here, which will be a -10 line, I'm also gonna bring it from up there down, and this is gonna be my return from my fuel pressure regulator at the front of the car. So any fuel will come right back into my surge tank. Of course, the feed line, like I said, can't do nothing until we are able to get the motor and everything. I also went ahead and bought a couple of nice quick disconnect clips. So I've been using a lot of of course I can't find anything right now, but I use a lot of like these butt connectors and stuff, and they get kind of nasty and stuff. So I figured, this is a much better solution for trans brake, valve body, dump, and all that stuff. So I went ahead and got a couple of these, and I'm wiring these in to my trans brake solenoid and dump valve. So it's just an easy, quick disconnect kind of setup whenever I need to drop the trans. Here's my new Monster fuel pressure regulator with -10 ports. It also comes with another spring for more base pressure. But we're gonna leave the factory spring in there right now, which I believe base pressure can go from like 40 to 80 or something, or 40 to 90. That guy, you can set the base pressure, I think all the way to like 140 or 150. It's pretty high, but this is gonna be our new regulator. Massive return orifice there. So, of course, one will be return and the other one will be the feed. What I actually like to do, so I actually direct feed my rail right from the fuel pressure, or right from the pump. So pump will have, get direct pressure, and then this guy will have a line that will run to my regulator that will dump the fuel. But that way, this has a nice full flow of fuel. Some guys run the regulator before the rail. I like to run it after the rail. Well guys, that's gonna do it for this video. Big shout out to JW, Jimmy Williams there, hooked me up with the new fuel system. Pretty excited to see how that's gonna work. We can't really do a whole lot more on the fuel system until we get the block in and we can find out where the pump is gonna be sitting, because the rest of the lines are gonna be to the pump and then at the pump and after the pump. So we're not gonna get my fuel filter, fuel pressure regulator hooked up until we get just the engine block in. So good thing about that is, there she is. So engine block coming up next video, stay tuned. F24 coming at you. This is gonna be it for this video, guys. Please comment, like, and subscribe. I appreciate the support, guys. I will see you in the next video. Later.